Elizabeth Gretz, and today we're kicking off with a topic that doesn't get talked about often enough, and it's real estate etiquette. I'm here with my friend and my real estate coach, Linda Fogarty, and she's been doing this for a very long time and has some great insights for us as well. So I'd like to let Linda introduce herself.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here with you and launch your podcast. It is such a needed topic. It's kind of like the Wild West out there. So I am so grateful that you're doing this. And if you don't know me, my name is Linda Fogarty. I've been a real estate coach, a mentor, an author, a creator of a warm-up system for over 26 years. It's my passion. I love helping agents create and have a business that they can be proud of and that they can be satisfied with, and they can and help them grow that for a long time. So thank you again, Elizabeth, for inviting me.
You're very welcome. So let's get right to it. So, why is it that etiquette amongst realtors matters now more than ever?
In this world of realtors, first of all, you got to think back when we were originally real estate agents in the business. We had a ton of training, and that was taught to us. And I don't know that it shouldn't be something that is natural, but it really isn't. Today's market and today in our real estate world, agents don't get that training. They don't have that mentor from their managing broker, from their broker owner, or even from their team leader, because their team leaders and owners are so busy recruiting and retaining that they don't have time to teach them all the nuances of what you should be doing as an agent in this market. If you think about how you want to be treated, when you make a phone call, you'd like to get a phone call returned. If you set an appointment, you'd like to get a confirmation. If you submit an offer, you'd like to get a response that that offer was received and what's going on. In the communication, the etiquette, it's just not there. It's like I said, it's kind of a wild west that we just only about ourselves. And it's literally ruining the reputation of our business. And many agents ruin their reputation by not having good etiquette for their clients.
I couldn't agree with you more. And when it comes to communication, it is key and it is so uh, confusing to me. I don't understand how you can have $1 million listing and you don't answer your phone. I say with the people that I work with every day, if we're not talking, we're not winning. And there is no way that you can win in a multiple offer situation if you are not talking to the other agent. And I think that it is baffling to me that somebody's going to pay somebody $20,000 and that person cannot answer their phone. So I think rule one is when you have a listing, you need to be answering your phone. And if you can't answer the phone, at least kindly send a text to that person and say, I can talk to you later. Because one of the first things that we do in a multiple offer situation, even before we write the offer, is we call the other agent and find out what their client is looking for. And of course, the client is looking for money, and we know that. But what else are they looking for? Do they need a shorter closing date? Do they need a longer closing date? Are they looking to rent back? What are they looking for? And if you are not talking to the person on the other side, how is it that you can best represent your client? So
And
that's like,
I agree with you 100%. As important, how many agents are just sending offers in and not communicating with that listing agent prior to that offer? How are they
I'm so
not getting lost in their emails? So this is so important that they just send an offer and expect it to be reviewed. It's terrible.
It is. It's baffling. And again, do you know how many times this past year, and especially the year before when things were out of control, somebody would send me an offer and they did not call or text me to say, Elizabeth, there's an offer in your inbox. And I can remember very specifically, we had 7 offers on a property. It was a very, very high-end agent who does a lot of business in our market. And they said they were sending an offer, but I never got confirmation from them that the offer came through, I had already worked through all of the offers, and that person sent me a text 24 hours after they sent me the offer and said, by the way, did you get my offer? We had already made our decision. And I
Yeah,
was like, well, no, I didn't. And they were like, well, we sent you the offer. So I think that it's paramount to your success and to the success of not only the buyers but the sellers. And again, I just don't understand how anybody believes that their value comes from anything other than communicating constantly with the other side.
absolutely.
So maybe your top 3 tips when you write an offer would be.
Absolutely communicate. Call and let that agent know that you're submitting an offer. And if you're so busy, like you said, Elizabeth, at least text them. Let them know that the offer is coming. Prior to that, call them and find out all the information that's important to that seller, because that may put you ahead of other offers. Because if they do need a short closing, or they do need longer time in the house, or other specifics, and you know that ahead of time, you can already put that in your offer. But communicating and talking ahead of getting that offer in, then submitting the offer, but submitting a complete offer. Make sure your offer has everything that needs to be done and put in its proper pre-approval. You've got their lender information, you've got their attorney information. Don't make it, just, I'll tell them this later if we get accepted. It all needs to be so complete. And then follow up. If you haven't heard from that agent, because you're right, Elizabeth, in this market, you can get anywhere from 7 to 20 offers. And that listing agent is having to go through all that and making, so it's up to you for your client to make sure that you're following up with that listing agent and say, hey, I submitted an offer, got all the information. Please let me know when I can expect a reply. Simple.
You would think it's simple.
You would.
You and I think it's simple. Right. Okay. So there's that. Then there is the etiquette when it comes to showing and accessing properties. And I have a problem with this as well, because not so much with the getting in. With technology, it's pretty simple to make your request. It's pretty simple to get a response. Oftentimes, though, we have special showing instructions. And even though you maybe put it in the actual showing instructions, I myself don't even read that stuff, right? So I think if you're an agent and there are special showing instructions, whether it's a dog or you can't come before a certain time, or the showing agent needs to show up, which is pretty much how we show properties. I think it's really important that you call when you get the request to confirm what the specifics are. Even though you have them in writing, that doesn't mean that somebody's reading it. And so I often find, in perfect case in point, because we have a property now where we have no basement. And it says there is no basement in 2 places. Well, we have to be there for the showings. We show up, and lo and behold, every time so far, the people that show up walk in, they walk around, love it, love it, love it, love it. And then they're like, wow, but we really need a basement. So instead of relying on the words that I have typed into the showing information, I will call that agent beforehand and say, listen, by the way, I really need you to understand there is no basement. So as far as communicating on showings, yes, it's very simple to do, but if you do have specifics, it's probably great to go ahead and make a phone call to the other agent. And not only are you doing that, but you're developing a relationship with that person. So if in fact they are writing an offer, you have already started a relationship with them and they've started a relationship with you. So again, we go back to the same thing. Answer your phone.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then this is probably one of my, it's unbelievable to me. So when you request a showing, you get an automatic feedback request. Do you know how many times I don't get the automatic feedback? Do you
Oh, pretty
remember?
much 95%.
Yes. And then in the automatic feedback, there's numbers, which is stupid. Well, okay, it's not perfect. And then at the bottom, you can make comments. First of all, we understand that no feedback is feedback, but somebody who's paying you 10, 15, 20, $30,000 to sell their home, they don't understand that no feedback is feedback. So I think it is just a professional courtesy. It takes 2 minutes. It's idiot proof. Tap, 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 done. But make a comment, say something. If you can't come up with something, make something up, because I don't know how many times I've had to give a client feedback that is really my feedback because the other agent wasn't kind enough. And when when somebody is listing their home, I think that we all forget as agents, because hopefully we're doing it all day, every day. That person has cleaned their house. That person has left their house. That person has made alternative plans. That person has done a whole bunch of things to make sure that you have a pleasant experience in their home. The very least that we can do as an agent is respond with some lovely feedback. And it can be honest feedback, but it should be feedback. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I was fortunate enough because I truly believed in that. As an agent, I always felt I needed to treat everybody the way I want to be treated. I think that's the golden rule that if we live by that, we would definitely be a better world. I don't care how late it was. If I was showing 20 properties, because when I would show properties, I would make notes of what my client would say. And at the end of the day, I always gave feedback, always. And as I got, I became a top producer, so you get busier and busier. But then I notes to my secretary and have her do it. That's how important it is, because once you become a listing agent and you have to go back and listen to your sellers, why aren't they telling me anything? They don't blame the other person. They're blaming you as your representative of their business. They're looking to you for those answers, and you don't want that to ever come back at you and say, I wouldn't use Linda, she just didn't do her job, because that's part of it, is getting that feedback. The other hand is, because I was so adamant about giving feedback, I increased the feedback that I got, because I had agents call me and say, I'm calling you back because you always returned my feedback. And so I'm giving it to you. I don't give it to anybody else. I just assume if I don't want it, my buyers don't want it, you should know that they don't want it and it's not worth their time. So that helped me. But in the meantime, I don't give up. I keep, look, it's only going to take you a minute. I'm not, I'm relentless. I'm going to make sure that I have something from you to tell my seller. So that's part of it. It's really important. And when you go back to the communication about the setting the schedule and all the work that the seller did about leaving their house, also remember too, if you I've had occasions where buyers have gotten to the house and say, oh no, I don't even want to see this. We're not going in. I don't like it.
Yep.
Well, come on. That seller did all that time, left the house. And a lot of times sitting across the street at the neighbor's house waiting for you to go in and go out so they can go back
They can
home.
see you didn't go in. Yeah.
They can see. So I always, come on, Mr. Buyer, just let's take a minute to go in, because they've taken all this time to prepare it for you. So always remember too. And if you can't convince them, now you need to make the call to the selling agent, to the listing agent, and say, I tried to talk them into it. They saw the front of it. It's totally not interested. They've got so many other houses to go see that I'm sorry, we're not going to go in. Be polite to each other and respect each other every step of every day.
Well, you bring up some very good points. So many there that I forgot. But it is treat others as you would like to be treated. And if if you're buying clients knew that you were not following the basic rules, regulations, and common courtesies of what an agent is supposed to do, I think they might be a little disappointed in that. And it's just
Absolutely.
so simple. And it takes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Nobody wants you to write a book. Nobody cares about every detail that you'd like to share, though we do like it when people share a lot of details.
Yeah,
But so I think that that is so important, and it is paramount to being a good agent. And it comes back to those multiple offer situations. If you are an agent that somebody has worked with in the past and has had great communication skills with you, whether people want to believe this or not, we do help influence who our sellers choose when determining
absolutely.
who to choose. And I find myself saying to people all the time, I've worked with this person in the past, they're a great communicator, they're going to keep this deal together, opposed to somebody whom I've worked with in the past who did not communicate well, who didn't show a lot of professionalism. And guess what? They went to the bottom of that list, and they probably didn't win that listing if all things were equal and it came down to who was a better communicator.
Absolutely. I can tell you a story. I had an agent that, as I was a newer agent and I was showing a lot of houses, and my buyers picked on this one that Ron had listed. And one of the agents who were experienced in my office saw this and said, "Oh no, you don't want to write something on his listing. He's a bully. He's horrible. He treats everybody horrible, and he's going to make you cry. He makes us all cry. We don't show his listings." Now, how horrible is, and it's just mind boggling to me that somebody's got that reputation, that that's how they do business, and that's what makes them successful. And so I wrote the offer anyway. That's my buyer wanted it. And he never made me cry. And he was never really mean to me. But that was in a time where we did our contracts in person, which I loved. I think we lose something because we're not in person anymore with the sellers, and you can explain who your buyer is so much nicer. And he actually was meaner to them, to his sellers, than he was to me, because we'd be talking and the seller would say so, or asking a question, and Ron would say, "I'll be asking the questions here." He kind of surprised me, but we got the deal together. But the next time his sellers were going to sell, they called me.
Of course they
It
did.
wouldn't go back to him. So, lesson learned. How do we not know that people are not going to put up with that forever? And what you said is right. His listings, his contracts are all going to the bottom of the pile if you know that you're going to have to be confronted with a bully. It's terrible.
Well, what's really terrible is those people still are in business and they get business, which is insane, but whatever, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I
So
bet they don't get repeat business.
so that brings us to the next topic, which I think we covered, which is the offer and negotiations. There probably are some points that we can add to that. One, when you're writing an offer, one, you should probably call first and see what the seller's looking for. Two, you should definitely let them know with confirmation from them that they received your offer. And then there's also the timely manner in which you get an offer and you work the offer pretty quickly and efficiently, because we forget too, we're working on the sellers and all of the emotion and the things that go in with that, but there's buyers that are waiting very patiently. And how many times can you say, well, they probably have multiple offers, they're working through them, whatever. So what would you say are maybe some of your best tips for the timing of negotiation, how people should treat each other during the negotiation process, and what do you think would be most beneficial to agents in the industry? And of course, we know it's most beneficial to their clients, but
Yeah.
what would you say on that?
In addition to what you said about the timeliness of contacting the listing agent first, letting them know that you're submitting the offer, having your offer completed, everything, the loan officer, the attorneys, what the expectations are, and having every line completed in the offer so that they don't have to come back and ask questions. And asking the agent, do you have multiple offers? When do you think you'll be returning the calls about who's going to get the offer? If you get multiple offers and something is, a little bit better than ours, but we have some chances in ours, can we get an opportunity for a final and best, or are you just going to look at these and this is your final and best, and that's how you're going to? So the open communication with the listing agent, number one, is paramount. Number two, having that talk with your buyers, as you said, that it's going to take a little bit of time, especially if they have multiple offers, that we need to be patient. And by patient, it doesn't mean you go 24 or 48 hours before you talk to your buyer because you haven't heard anything from the listing agent. You still contact them after several hours, haven't heard anything, and it can be a simple text. It doesn't have to be a phone call where you're talking to them, but a simple text that says, still haven't heard anything. I would imagine that they're still going over all the details of all the offers they've gotten. But leaving that communication open to your buyers is as important as it is to the listing agent. And then if your offer accepted, it's doing everything that you're supposed to do. Get the signatures, get the initials everywhere they're supposed to be, get the contract once it's signed, get it to your attorney, start your inspection time. Make sure that you have a checklist for your buyers on everything that they're supposed to do and how soon everything needs to be done so that they're not going to lose any deadline and screw up an offer.
I like it. As you're saying all this, I'm thinking to myself, we probably need to do a podcast specifically on this because there are so many layers to that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna circle back because there's a lot more to talk about on that. And then perhaps just one more topic for today would be social media etiquette. And
Oh,
oh boy. So I think, well, I don't think, I know anymore, if you want to be successful in this business, social media is important. It's a big player in the game of real estate. And I believe there has to be a balance. And the balance is, you definitely include some personal things in your life and you definitely include business things. But I am aghast when I watch people on social media uh, go on and on about their political views and make disparaging comments on other people's political posts. And I think to myself, that is the kiss of death because you don't know who. So, say you have 1,000 followers, 800 followers, 10,000 followers, it doesn't matter. You don't know what their politics are. And I think it is so important to keep your politics at the dinner table and not on social media when you are a real estate broker, agent, person.
absolutely. And in addition to that, religion. These
Oh,
are very personal things.
yes.
And sometimes we want to express them, but social media is not the place because of your profession. You are a professional real estate agent, and you need to know that your livelihood, your business, your relationships that you're building, everybody's going to see what you're putting on on your social media platform. Everybody. And they have opinions. And whether or not they're going to come back and work with you is based on those opinions. So religion and politics should definitely be left out of what you're posting, because there's a ton of things you could be posting and still have it personal. I mean, you can talk about your personality, you can talk about things you enjoy doing personally, because a lot of people like that because they get to know that human being at the other end of being a realtor. But when it comes to politics and religion, and maybe there's something else that I'm not thinking of, but those two really stand out to me. um,
Your OnlyFans link. Yes. Well, I agree. And that's probably we probably could do a whole podcast on that as well.
oh, we
And
could.
we probably should, and we can give ideas for fun things for real estate professionals to post. But so to sort of wrap this all up and summarize, it is so important. You are your reputation, you are your brand. And if you are not showing respect for others, you're not showing respect for yourselves. And I think that your clients can see that. through your actions and your reactions. And when people are paying you to sell their homes, it's more than marketing, it's more than, negotiating. It's about being respectful and kind to others. And I think you mentioned it before. You said it's like the golden rule: treat others as you would like to be treated. And in a profession that sometimes gets some bad press, I think it's so important that at minimum, we treat each other with respect. So that's
I
my
agree 100%, Elizabeth. And you said it beautifully. I don't need to really add anything to that because that's what we should be looking at. That golden rule is so important. And if you just want, follow that along your career, you're going to have the best career in the whole world because people will be drawn to your authenticity, the real you, the human being who is genuinely caring about their feelings and their lives. And you hold, think about it. You're the most expensive thing in the world that somebody owns is their property, and they're giving it to you to help them move on to a new journey. And that's valuable. And if you can't be true to them and honest with them about every step of the way and completely thorough and genuine, you should be looking for another business.
I agree. So, on that happy note, thank you for coming today and talking to us about etiquette and about being kind to others and being professional. We sure love you and we appreciate you, and we think you're super kind and very professional, and your etiquette skills are outstanding. So, we look forward to talking to you again in the near future. And in the meantime, where can people find you if they'd like to know more information?
Oh, www.lindafogarty.com. Real easy.
Beautiful. All right. We will be back soon, and we thank you for your time, and we will talk to everybody whenever. Take
Oh,
care.
it's this been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.